Christian McCaffrey is traded from the Carolina Panthers to the San Francisco 49ers. And boy, oh boy, did this send shock waves through the fantasy football community. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, the pillar of the Carolina Panthers, former 8th overall pick in the 2017 draft. He is traded from Carolina to the Bay Area. He went to Stanford. Bizarrely, Adam Schefter thought that would be like the deciding factor for Christian McCaffrey of whether or not he's going to be playing in week 7. Like, no, like we know that Christian McCaffrey is going to be playing in week 7. It's just, what is his role going to be? And I think that that's a valid question. Like, you're not taking Christian McCaffrey out of your starting lineup unless we definitively hear Christian McCaffrey is not going to play, right? Unless you hear those words uttered and proclaimed from the San Francisco 49ers, you're putting Christian McCaffrey in your starting lineup, even if he's only playing part of the game. It's just the amount of upside, the catching capability that he has. Now, the expert consensus rankings for Christian McCaffrey for Fantasy Pros going into week 7 is running back 15. So, there is a little bit of a hedging happening with what role Christian McCaffrey is going to have in this lineup. Okay, so let's look at what McCaffrey has done so far this season. 85.5% snap share. That was the highest among all running backs. And he was getting the snaps in Carolina, first in opportunity share. We were loving what was happening, at least on the usage standpoint, the opportunity standpoint for Christian McCaffrey. Second in weighted opportunities. You have to love that. 12th in carries. So, are they going to take away a lot of carries from Christian McCaffrey? No, he's averaging 14 carries a game coming into week 7, 42 targets, second among all running backs in targets, 9 red zone touches. He's averaging 19.7 full PPR fantasy points per game, 6th in expected fantasy points. So he is actually on the right side of variance so far this season, only by a little bit. But 277 receiving yards, 33 receptions, number 2 overall, number 1 in route participation among running backs. That is a stark difference between what we had seen in the San Francisco backfield, and I'm going to talk about Jeff Wilson here in a second. But, Christian McCaffrey is going to be used in the pass-catching role out of the backfield. You don't trade for a player and don't use him for that high-level skill set. Shanahan knows exactly what he's getting with Christian McCaffrey. It's just a matter of what kind of outcome are you going to get week 1. Jose's jumping on and asking or talking about how he is super risky to put in your lineups. Very little time to learn the playbook. Thankfully, not too hard to just get a handoff from Jimmy Garoppolo. Or run, a route. You don't expect that Christian McCaffrey is going to be, out there in protection on third downs where he's blocking, right? If he's going to be out there, he's going to be used. I think that's going to be a telltale sign. I'm not going to be, expecting the number 1 snap share among all running backs. Let's not get crazy here. But I am excited about Christian McCaffrey moving forward. I think that this is net neutral-ish. On Carolina, the issue with Christian McCaffrey was that, he's not going to get positive game. The Panthers are going to be in negative game scripts. He's going to not get positive game scripts. So he's not going to be salting away games where we've seen him be an effective rusher. Instead, they've had to dump the ball off, and he has been able to, catch the ball, as I mentioned, number 1 in route participation, 4 in routes run, number 1 in target share. Christian McCaffrey coming to the San Francisco 49ers, number 1 in target share, okay, among all running backs. You don't go from a 24% target share to a 12% target, team target share. The team target share is going to rise, okay? Jose's asking, what player on San Francisco gets hurt the most with the Christian McCaffrey on the team? Okay. Well, I'll start almost in backwards order for you, Jose. The player that helps the most is Jimmy Garoppolo. If you have another weapon out of the backfield, a safety valve, a player who doesn't need to get off of the line like George Kittle. Like the reason why George Kittle was a safety blanket was because, he was close to the line of scrimmage, but there weren't pass catching capable backs. Like Elijah Mitchell it's not within his pedigree to catch the ball. So I think it'll hurt Elijah Mitchell. That's an aside. I think it helps Jimmy Garoppolo, elevates his floor and allows the Brandon Ayuks and Deebo Samuels of the world to continue to elevate Garoppolo's ceiling. But I think McCaffrey's existence helps the floor, and that's why I think moving forward, Jimmy Garoppolo is a top 14 quarterback consideration. Okay, he's consistently been in the 18 to 22 ranges of rankings. But over the last 2 weeks, Jimmy Garoppolo has been a top 10 quarterback consideration. Now he gets. You have to think of the first 4 weeks as well for Jimmy Garoppolo as preseason games, because he didn't really play much over the preseason. During the season, it was Trey Lance's team, and then he gets hurt. And so now Jimmy has to work off the rust. Fine. But now he's starting to hit the gears, and I think is going to be every week top 14 quarterback, maybe top 12. I'm willing to go out and trade for Jimmy Garoppolo in your dynasty leagues or in your redraft leagues. If you're playing Superflex, I think he's going to be a very comfortable quarterback too moving forward with McCaffrey and Kittle and Ayuk and Deebo. So this is good for Jimmy Garoppolo. And then I think it doesn't impact Brandon Ayuk at all. It won't affect Ayuk's routes. Brandon Ayuk is just he's your typical wide receiver, wide receiver role in the offense. So I don't think it's going to impact Brandon Ayuk a ton. I think the players that it's going to most impact are where we see redundant usage, right? It makes sense that Deebo Samuel, who has a redundant usage as Christian McCaffrey, high target share, also rushes the ball. The redundant usage. Jeff Wilson, rushing the ball, redundant usage. Elijah Mitchell, redundant usage. These are close to the line of scrimmage players, or they are, they're getting rushing. So I think that those are most impacted. Are Deebo Samuel, at least in the receiving game, close to the line of scrimmage, whereas Deebo's still going to get a sprinkling of rush. He's going to get a little bit of touches. That's not the worry for me. But what I am worried about is your investment to Elijah Mitchell. That is the number one most impacted player, because as I mentioned, Christian McCaffrey averaging 14 carries a game on a bad team, right? Carolina not salting away games. He's going to get more carries. It's going to be more like 15 to 17 carries a game, plus, your 15 to 20% target share for Christian McCaffrey. I think McCaffrey's target share does drop a little bit. You're not going to get 25% of the targets, but 18 to 22%, I think that's a reasonable amount for Christian McCaffrey entering the 49ers, but not for week 7. Not for week 7. And that's why I'm hedging running back 15 right now.